Welcome to this explainer. I'm absolutely pumped you're here today because we're going to unpack a truly fascinating, highly structured tool for rewiring the brain. If you're someone who appreciates a clear, logical, no-nonsense approach to overcoming challenges, well, you're in the exact right place. Today we're exploring Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy, or REBT for short, and specifically we're looking at how it acts as a step-by-step cognitive override for addiction. We're going to dive into how our minds work, how they can sometimes totally work against us, and exactly how we can grab that steering wheel back.
So I want you to really sit with this question for a second. Do events cause our emotional distress, or do our beliefs about those events cause the distress? It's a big one, right? This right here is the central, foundational question of our entire topic today. It's the core philosophy proposed by the creator of REBT, an American psychologist named Albert Ellis. He basically observed that a lot of our behavioral problems aren't actually caused by the external events happening to us, but by how we interpret those events.
To really grasp how this works in practice, here is our roadmap for today. We're going to start by examining the power of irrational thoughts. Then, define exactly what REBT is. After that, we'll break down the core ABC process, apply it directly to beating cravings and triggers, and finally, compare REBT to other common therapies. Okay, let's just dive right into this step by step.
Kicking things off with Section 1, the power of irrational thoughts and how our own minds fuel the cycle.
Look, before we can fix a problem, we really need to clearly see it. In addiction recovery, unexamined, self-defeating thoughts are basically the silent engine driving the car. The ones listed here are incredibly common. Things like believing that avoiding your problems is the secret to happiness, or thinking it's literally just too late in life to make a change. And check out that third one, feeling success demands perfection. The source material points out that perfectionism is a classic irrational standard. I mean, logically, we all know perfection is completely unattainable, right? But when we hold ourselves to it anyway, we inevitably fall short. And that failure, it causes profound emotional distress. So what happens when we feel overwhelmed by that distress? We look for an escape. For a lot of people, that escape is alcohol or drugs. These self-defeating thoughts are what directly derail recovery because they make you feel so deeply disappointed in yourself. The absolutely crucial point here is that to tackle addiction, we have to tackle these exact thoughts first.
Which brings us right to our solution. Section 2. What is REBT? The cognitive override.
So what is it? Rational Emotive Behavior Therapy is a specific form of cognitive behavioral therapy designed to help you recognize, understand, and fundamentally completely change your irrational beliefs. It was formally introduced way back in 1955 by Albert Ellis, and at the time it totally challenged the dominant psychoanalytic approaches. Instead of just, endlessly talking about your past for years, Ellis emphasized a direct, highly structured, and active approach. It's all about empowering you to actively dispute the rigid, unrealistic thoughts that are driving the substance use and intentionally replacing them with rational, constructive alternatives. To put it simply, it's not just about positive thinking, it's about productive thinking.
Moving right along to Section 3, the ABC process explained, deconstructing your triggers.
Now, what's really fascinating here is just how simple yet profound this framework actually is. REBT deals with three basic elements. A is for the activating event, this is your trigger situation, and C is the consequence, your emotional or behavioral response. Now, in the context of addiction, that consequence might be an intense craving or even a relapse. Most of us think A jumps straight to C, right? Like, I had a ridiculously stressful day at work, so I drank. But REBT teaches us that there is a B sitting right there in the middle. B is your belief. It's how you interpret that stressful day. If your underlying belief is, I literally cannot handle this stress, well, then the consequence is seeping out a substance to numb it. The secret weapon of this entire therapy is learning how to mentally hit the pause button between the activating event and the consequence. You pause, you spot the belief, and you change it. Let's look at how we actually do that. Section 4. Beating cravings and triggers. Applying the ABCs in real time. This is where the cognitive override really comes to life. On the left side here, we have a classic irrational belief. I cannot cope without alcohol. It's incredibly rigid, and honestly, it's a trap. If you believe this, the consequence is pretty much inevitably going to be substance use. But through cognitive restructuring, REBT helps you actively shift your brain to the thought on the right. I can manage stress using exercise or deep breathing. Notice how it doesn't deny the stress, it acknowledges it, but it completely changes the belief about your own ability to handle it. You're swapping out a self-defeating belief for a healthier, completely rational alternative. Here's another massive one. Look at the left. I am worthless if I relapse. This is pure catastrophic all-or-nothing thinking, and it's incredibly dangerous because it fuels a cycle of shame that actually drives further addiction. But on the right, we have the REBT override. Relapse is a setback, not a failure, and I can get back on track. This blunt, honest cognitive restructuring directly combats the exact thoughts that keep people stuck. It's balanced, it's highly realistic, and most importantly, it actively supports your recovery instead of tearing it down.
Now look, adopting these new thoughts isn't just some breezy mental exercise. It takes real work. Putting this into practice involves a few very specific steps. First up, your therapist is going to dispute your beliefs using really blunt, honest questions. The source text actually notes that this can sometimes feel a bit contentious, and honestly, that's entirely intentional. The therapist is forcing you to tackle these self-defeating ideas head-on. Second, you'll be doing behavioral experiments. That might mean attending a social event sober, relying completely on the new coping strategies you've built, and finally, the homework. Yes, there's homework. You'll actively journal your negative thoughts and practice these stress management techniques between your normal therapy sessions.
Almost done here. Let's move to Section 5, REBT versus other therapies, finding the right fit for recovery.
To really see the specific tactical advantage REBT has in the wider landscape of addiction treatment, this table brilliantly illustrates the differences. While REBT, CBT, and DBT are all fantastic evidence-based therapies, they have very distinct personalities. Cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT, focuses a lot on distorted thinking using a very structured problem-solving style. Dialectical behavior therapy, or DBT, heavily targets intense emotions and mindfulness through skill building and coaching. But look at REBT right there at the top. Its core focus is squarely on irrational beliefs, and its style, it's uniquely directive and confrontational. If you are the kind of person who really benefits from a direct, totally no-nonsense approach that actively calls out your excuses and rigid ideas, REBT offers an incredibly practical path to changing your behavior by forcibly changing your thoughts. We've covered a ton of ground today, from the hidden danger of perfectionism to Albert Ellis's ABC model, and that incredibly blunt, effective style of cognitive restructuring. So I want to leave you with this one provocative question. What irrational belief are you going to challenge during your very next stressor? Seriously, the next time you feel totally overwhelmed, remember to mentally hit that pause button between the activating event and the consequence. Dig in, find that underlying belief, and override it. You've got the tools now. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for this explainer, and I can't wait to explore our next topic with you.